If you're over 60 and you've stopped masturbating because someone told you it's wrong or useless at your age, I need you to stop and listen right now. That belief might be silently harming your health, your mood, and even your connection with your partner. Yes, I said it, not masturbating in old age can be a mistake. My name is Dr. Mohit Kara. I'm a men's health physician with over 30 years of clinical experience, and I've worked with thousands of men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s. I've helped them overcome everything from erectile dysfunction to low libido to emotional burnout. And over the years, I've come to one undeniable truth. Your relationship with your own body, especially your sexual self, doesn't end at 60. In fact, it becomes more important than ever. Here's the part no one talks about. Many older men who stop masturbating in the name of discipline or self-control are actually increasing their risk of erectile dysfunction, loneliness, and even depression. It sounds backwards, doesn't it? But I'll show you why the exact opposite is true. When done mindfully, masturbation is a cornerstone of healthy aging. In this video, I'm going to give you 6 crucial truths that every man over 60 should know if he wants to keep masturbation as a safe, empowering, and beneficial part of his life. We'll break through the myths, we'll talk science, and most importantly, I'll show you how this one act can improve your physical health, emotional stability, and yes, even your relationships. But before I reveal these 6 truths, there's one mistake I see older men make more than anything else. It's simple, it's silent, and it's sabotaging their confidence and intimacy. I'll tell you exactly what it is and how to fix it, coming up in just a moment. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click that button. And turn on the bell so you don't miss any of my future advice on men's health, aging, and sexual vitality. If this message speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. I'm here to learn what truly helps you. 1. The one silent mistake that's destroying your confidence. Shame around masturbation. Most older men don't realize it, but one of the biggest threats to their confidence, intimacy, and even their physical health is something they've been silently carrying for decades. Shame. Shame about their sexuality, shame about their bodies, and especially shame about masturbation. It's not loud, it's not always obvious, but it's always there, lingering in the background, telling them that pleasure is wrong, that desire at their age is inappropriate, or that masturbation is something to feel guilty about. And this belief, this hidden script playing in the back of their minds, has caused more damage than any medical condition ever could. I've seen this time and again with my older male patients. They stop masturbating not because they don't want to, but because they think they shouldn't. They've been taught it's immature or sinful or just plain unnecessary after a certain age. But that thinking leads to emotional disconnect, a loss of sexual confidence, and in many cases, actual erectile dysfunction that has no physical cause at all. Their bodies still work, their desire is still there, but the shame short-circuits everything before it even begins. What makes this even more harmful is how quietly it works. A man may not even realize that shame is behind his lack of desire or performance anxiety. But once he lets go of that guilt, once he accepts that masturbation is a normal, healthy, even beneficial part of aging, his confidence begins to return. He reconnects with his body, his masculinity, and his sense of worth. He starts to feel alive again. Self-touch at this stage of life isn't about lust. It's about self-respect. It's about honoring the fact that your body still has needs, your emotions still matter, and you are still worthy of feeling good. The real courage isn't in giving it up, it's in giving yourself permission to embrace it, fully and without apology. Now, if shame is the silent killer of confidence, then what's the silent healer of sexual health after 60? It's something so simple, most men ignore it completely, until they start to feel the consequences. Let's talk about that next. If you're still here and these insights are resonating with you, type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. Now, let's continue with the next important truth. 2. Masturbation is not a sign of loneliness, it's a sign of self-awareness. One of the most damaging misconceptions I see among older men is the belief that masturbation equals loneliness. That if you're still touching yourself at 60, 70, or 80, it's because you failed in some way. Failed to find a partner, failed to move on, or failed to live a dignified life. This mindset is toxic, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Masturbation isn't about being lonely. It's about being connected, specifically connected to yourself. It's one of the most direct ways to stay emotionally and physically attuned to your body as you age. When a man takes time for self-pleasure, he's doing far more than just relieving pressure. He's reducing stress, improving sleep, boosting immune response, increasing circulation, and maintaining his connection to pleasure and sensuality, something many men lose touch with as they grow older. And emotionally, it's about owning your autonomy. You're saying, I still value myself enough to care for my needs. That's not lonely, that's powerful. Some of my patients say they stopped masturbating because they felt embarrassed or too old for it. But within weeks of returning to this practice, without guilt, without shame, they report sleeping better, feeling more relaxed, and even regaining a sense of confidence they hadn't felt in years. Masturbation at this stage isn't about escaping reality, it's about tuning into it. It's a private, pressure-free space where you can explore what still feels good, where your boundaries are now, and how your body responds differently than it did decades ago. It also reinforces something deeply important. Your sexual identity doesn't expire. It may change, it may evolve, but it doesn't vanish just because the world tells you to quiet down. In fact, embracing that part of you can bring a deep sense of peace, even joy, as you age. And yet, as essential as that self-awareness is, it's not the only part of the equation. There's something far more physical that too many men overlook, and if you ignore it, it could cost you your ability to perform altogether. Let's get into that next. 3. Erections are use it or lose it. Literally. Most men are shocked when I tell them this, but your ability to get and maintain an erection is closely tied to how often you actually use it. It's not just about testosterone or attraction, it's about blood flow, elasticity, and the health of the tissues inside your penis. And just like any other part of the body, if it's not exercised regularly, it begins to decline. That's why the phrase, use it or lose it, is especially true when it comes to erections after 60. As you age, your circulatory system naturally becomes less efficient. Blood vessels may narrow, and the strength of your heart's pumping power can decrease. This has a direct impact on erectile function, which is essentially a blood flow event. If you're not regularly encouraging blood to flow to your penis, through masturbation or arousal, you risk losing that function altogether over time. It's not just about sex, it's about maintenance. Regular erections keep the tissue oxygenated and the vessels responsive. Without that, the body starts to deprioritize that function. I've worked with countless older men who stopped masturbating for months or even years. When they tried to get back into it, they were alarmed to find that their erections were weak or non-existent. But in many cases, there was no underlying disease, just disuse. Fortunately, with consistent attention and the right mindset, much of that function can return. But it takes effort. It takes respect for your body and a willingness to stay engaged with your sexual health, even when society tells you it no longer matters. It's also about confidence. When you keep your body responsive through healthy sexual routines, you feel more in control, not just in the bedroom, but in life. It's a reminder that you still have power, presence, and purpose in your physical being. Don't wait for a crisis to start paying attention to your body. The best time to care for your erectile health is now, before problems begin. Still, staying physically tuned in is only part of the story. There's another element, less talked about but just as important, that can deeply affect how you experience pleasure and arousal. And the surprising part? Most men are doing it wrong. Let's talk about that next. If you're still watching and finding these insights meaningful, type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're here and engaged. Let's move forward now with point number 4. 4. Porn is optional, but fantasy is essential. As men get older, many start to question their relationship with porn. Some feel it's become a habit they rely on too heavily. Others feel it no longer excites them the way it once did, and some even feel ashamed for using it at all. While it's true that excessive porn use can sometimes dull your natural responses or create unrealistic expectations, the solution isn't to remove all sexual stimulation from your life. The real key is to understand the difference between porn and fantasy, and why one is optional while the other is essential. Fantasy is your inner world of desire. It's not about high-definition images or scripted videos. It's about what your own mind creates, uniquely shaped by your experiences, emotions, and personal turn-ons. As a man over 60, your brain remains your most powerful sex organ. The ability to fantasize, imagine, and mentally engage in arousal is a sign of a healthy, functioning libido. It keeps your mind involved, keeps your arousal natural, and creates a deeper, more meaningful experience than just staring at a screen. When my patients stop relying on porn and begin tapping into their imagination again, something changes. They become more in tune with what truly turns them on. They start to reconnect with subtle feelings, forgotten desires, and emotional triggers that make pleasure feel real, not manufactured. It becomes more intimate, even when they're alone. You don't have to ban porn from your life entirely, unless you feel it's negatively affecting you. But you should never lose touch with your own fantasies. That mental engagement is a skill, and like all skills, it gets stronger with practice. It also helps prepare you for intimacy with others, because you've already cultivated a rich inner world that you're comfortable exploring and, when appropriate, sharing. Fantasy is not childish. It's not weak. It's not inappropriate. It's essential to keeping your erotic self alive, responsive, and connected, especially as your body changes with age. Now, while fantasy keeps your mind engaged, there's another key to long-term sexual vitality that has nothing to do with frequency and everything to do with rhythm. And most men overlook it completely. Let's uncover that next. 5. Frequency is personal, but consistency matters. One of the most common questions I get from older male patients is, how often should I be masturbating at my age? The truth is, there's no universal answer to that question. Some men feel great masturbating a few times a week, while others feel satisfied with once every couple of weeks. The important thing isn't how often you do it, it's that you stay consistent with whatever frequency works best for your body and lifestyle. When you go long stretches without sexual stimulation, especially as you age, your body can begin to respond differently. Erections may take longer to achieve, arousal may feel less natural, and your overall confidence in your sexual self can decline. It's not that something's wrong, it's just that the body, like anything else, adapts to what it's used to. If it's used to a complete lack of stimulation, it starts to accept that as the new normal. That's why consistency matters. Masturbation doesn't need to become a chore or an obligation. In fact, forcing it when you're not in the mood can create more frustration than benefit. But by making space for it, whether that means once a week, twice a month, or some other rhythm, you're telling your body and your mind that this part of you still matters. You're keeping the connection alive, maintaining sensitivity, and preserving your natural rhythms of arousal and release. It also helps reduce stress and improve emotional balance. A consistent habit, even if infrequent, creates a sense of stability and self-awareness. It keeps you from falling into the trap of ignoring your sexual needs entirely, which can lead to disconnection from yourself and even from others. Think of it like exercise. You don't have to go to the gym every day to stay healthy, but doing something regularly, on your own terms, makes all the difference. You're not chasing youth, you're investing in your current and future well-being. And while rhythm and consistency create the physical foundation, there's one final element that ties everything together, an element that bridges the gap between self-pleasure and true intimacy. Most men think it's out of reach after 60, but I'll show you why that couldn't be further from the truth. Let's explore it next. 6. Masturbation is a gateway to better intimacy with others. Many older men believe that masturbation and intimacy are two separate things. That self-pleasure is what you do when you're alone, and intimacy is something you only share with a partner. But the truth is, the two are deeply connected. In fact, the more attuned you are to your own body and desires, the more open, confident, and responsive you can be in a relationship. Masturbation, especially in your later years, is not just a private act. It's a form of personal discovery that lays the foundation for real, meaningful intimacy with someone else. When you know what you like, what you respond to, and how your arousal works, you become much more effective at communicating those things with a partner. And that communication, clear, gentle, and honest, is what creates trust and emotional safety. Too often, men enter sexual situations unsure of themselves, hoping their partner will guide the experience. But that can create pressure, anxiety, and even performance issues. Masturbation helps eliminate that guesswork. It gives you the knowledge to say, "Here's what feels good for me," and the emotional grounding to say it with confidence. Beyond that, self-pleasure keeps your sexual energy alive. It reminds you that you are still a sensual being, still capable of feeling pleasure, still deserving of closeness. That awareness naturally spills over into your relationships. Whether you're married, dating, or single, people respond to someone who feels comfortable in their own skin. That kind of comfort doesn't come from outside validation. It comes from knowing yourself, and that's what masturbation offers. Intimacy later in life is not about performance. It's about presence, connection, and authenticity. And when you cultivate those things with yourself first, they become much easier to share with someone else. You're not relying on another person to validate your masculinity, you're simply inviting them into a space you already respect and understand. Now that you've seen how masturbation can actually enhance your physical health, emotional resilience, and romantic connection, there's only one thing left to do. And it might be the most important step of all, so don't miss what's coming next. Conclusion: reclaiming your right to pleasure and confidence. After 60. You've just learned 6 powerful truths that many men never hear, especially as they get older. These aren't just tips or suggestions. They're foundational truths that can change how you experience your body, your confidence, and your relationships for the rest of your life. It starts with letting go of the shame that's held you back, the silent weight that made you feel like your desires were something to be hidden or ignored. That shame has no place in this stage of your life. In fact, the courage to challenge it may be the most important step toward real emotional and sexual freedom. You now understand that masturbation isn't a lonely act. It's a form of self-awareness. It's your way of staying in touch with who you are, what you need, and how your body still responds to touch and pleasure. You've seen that erections are tied directly to use and circulation, and that keeping this part of your body active is not indulgent. It's necessary for your overall health. You've also learned that while porn might not serve everyone, fantasy remains a powerful and healthy part of your sexual identity. You've discovered that consistency matters more than frequency. What counts is not how often you engage in self-pleasure, but that you make room for it in a way that respects your changing body and lifestyle. And finally, you've seen how masturbation is not a replacement for intimacy, but a gateway to it. By knowing yourself, you become better equipped to connect with others, not through performance, but through presence and honesty. This chapter of life isn't about shutting things down, it's about opening up. It's about redefining what it means to be a man, not by how youthful you appear or how often you perform, but by how fully you accept and care for yourself. You are not past your prime, you are in a new one, and what you do with it is entirely up to you. So here's your invitation. Start where you are. Embrace what your body can still feel. Reconnect with yourself, not out of habit, but out of respect, because you've earned that, and you're worth it.